Welcome to this year's History Christmas Special.
This year's Christmas special is all about World War II.
My name is Morgan Gruer.
And my name is Abby Burgess.
We are historians who specialize in World War II.
We are here to give you an overview of the tragic events that took place from 1939 until 1945.
It all started at the end of World War I with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles.
The Treaty of Versailles was written by the Allied powers of World War I in 1919, and Germany had no say in the outcome of this treaty. Germany had no choice but to sign this treaty on June 18, 1919. It put major limitations on their military, their involvement in Europe, and was a major reason for their economic failure. Because of the negative effect that the Treaty of Versailles had on Germany and its citizens, Hitler used this as a drive to gain power amongst the citizens of Germany in the 1930s. The signing of the Treaty of Versailles.
This is Hitler becoming Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933.
Sieg Heil!
The Enabling Act of 1933 was passed, giving Hitler complete dictatorial power over Germany.
Sieg Heil!
As Hitler became dictator of Germany, he began violating the Treaty of Versailles by building up Germany's military and taking in new land.
To avoid war, Europe began practicing appeasement towards Germany. Europe and Germany signed the Munich Pact on September 30th, 1938. This gave Germany right to their new land. Hitler broke the pact within the next year.
Germany and Russia signed a non-aggression pact on the 23rd of August, 1939 to share the land of Poland once it was conquered.
Hitler ordered German troops to invade in Poland on September 1st, 1939. He wanted to regain the land lost in World War I and rule over bigger territory. Poland was no match for the modernized German army, and they surrendered on September 27th, 1939. The rest of the world was shocked by Germany's invasion of Poland.
The world's reaction to Hitler invading Poland was complete shock. Acting fast, France and Britain, being allies of Poland, declared war on Germany on September 3rd, 1939. Little did Europe know the shock was not over. Russia invaded Poland on the east side on September 17th, 1939 as part of the non-aggression pact made between Germany and Russia.
France and Britain declaring war on Germany.
As the non-aggression pact said would happen, the Soviet Union invaded eastern Poland on September 17, 1939. The Polish shortly gave in to the USSR afterward.
The Battle of the Atlantic was the longest and most continuous battle of World War II. It was between the Axis and the Allied powers and was fought for the control of the Atlantic Ocean. It went all the way from September 3rd, 1939 until May 8th, 1945. The Battle of the Atlantic ended in Allied victory.
Until May 1940, Britain took no military action in World War II, while France had little itself, but took more than Britain. This is referred to as the Phony War.
On April 9th, 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway.
On May 10th, 1940, Germany launched the invasion of France. This devastated France and led to a surrender.
Winston Churchill was appointed Prime Minister of Great Britain on May 10, 1940.
June 11, 1940, Italy entered the war on the side of the Axis powers. On September 22, 1940, Germany, Italy, and Japan signed the Tripartite Pact, creating their alliance.
On June 22, 1941, Germany broke the non-aggression pact it had with Russia and invaded there. Coming up next is the Holocaust. This was the genocide of over 6 million people from different ethnic groups and different ways of life. This is one of history's darkest moments. The people targeted were the Jewish people, the disabled, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Soviet prisoners of war.
Prisoners were given small snack-sized meals, but sometimes they weren't given any meals at all. Camp prisoners were forced to endure hard labor that was continuous in the camp. This labor continued on for hours without breaks, causing prisoners to be extremely weak. Prisoners were packed into small, dirty spaces where they had to huddle together for warmth with small blankets and very thin clothing.
At concentration camps, prisoners would be chosen at random or put into gas chambers for a reason. They had to breathe in the poisonous gas there that would shut down their body and kill them. Soviet troops and American troops would often invade these concentration camps and take them down. These Soviet and American troops would go into these concentration camps and liberate them, saving the survivors.
Because of many reasons, including nationalism, Japan wanted to expand its territory into the Pacific Ocean and into China. The only thing standing in their way of gaining control of the Pacific Ocean was the Hawaiian Islands, which to this day are inhabited by America.
1 year in advance, the Japanese government began planning their attack on the U.S. naval base Pearl Harbor, which is located on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. The American forces were not prepared for this attack whatsoever, therefore the Japanese were successful with their bombing. The impact that Pearl Harbor had was the destruction of nearly 20 American ships and over 300 airplanes. 2,403 sailors, soldiers, and civilians were killed, with about 1,000 people being injured.
1 year prior to the Pearl Harbor attack, Japan started to plan.
On December 8, 1941, President Roosevelt delivered his Day of Infamy speech, where he declared war on Japan for the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Soon after U.S. declared war on Japan, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S.
And coming up next are very important battles that were the turning points in World War II.
On August 23, 1942, Germany and its allies invaded the city of Stalingrad in Russia to take over the city. It was a success. As winter settled in on Russia, Germany didn't have enough supplies and weren't getting them fast enough, so Russia was able to take Stalingrad back for themselves.
The invasion of Normandy, also known as D-Day, took place on June 6, 1944. The Allied forces invaded this beach in France in order to get to Berlin to take down Nazi forces. It weakened the German army, in which they never recovered. This was the biggest turning point to the Allied forces and ultimately allowed for them victory. The Battle of the Bulge was a sneak attack from German forces on the Allied troops, mainly American. It took place from December 16, 1944 to January 25, 1945.
The Battle of Iwo Jima that took place on the island of Iwo Jima took place from February 19, 1945 until March 26, 1945. The United States Marine Corps landed on this island and captured it from the Japanese Army during World War II. And now, here are the events that played out at the end of World War II.
Hitler killed himself with cyanide poisoning in a gunshot to the head, while his wife killed herself with just cyanide poisoning in his underground bunker on April 30, 1945.
The Battle of Berlin took place from April 16th to May 2nd, 1945, when the Soviet Union invaded Berlin in Germany to end them once for all in World War II.
Not long after Hitler's death, Germany surrendered to the Allied powers on May 7, 1945. On May 8, 1945, Winston Churchill announced the end of World War II to Europe. Although Germany surrendered, America and Japan were still at war. But when America dropped the first 2 atomic bombs on Japan, that all changed.
On August 6, 1945, the first bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. On August 9th, the second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. This is an example of what the aftermath of the 2 atomic bombs could have looked like. Japan announced its surrender to the U.S. in August of 1945, and the official surrender was signed on September 2nd, 1945.
And World War II was finally over.
This is a very important part of history, and it impacts today still, and the lost lives will never, ever be forgotten.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time!
Oh! Let's bring her back a little bit more. Put it back. All right, ready? You gotta bend that back. Okay. All right. Ready? All right. Ready? This is beautiful.
This is sad.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs. Rah, Rasputin. Oh yes.
You need to put that in
I got
bloopers.
myself chills just then. That was awesome.
Harrison, do that video and put it in bloopers.
Nope. No, you recording that? No!
Your kitchen!
I know, I'm going to get it. This was a shortcut.
More like a long cut.